There is a consumer reporting agency operating in near total obscurity that maintains files on over 80% of Americans who have ever held a bank account. It is not Equifax. It is not Experian. It is not TransUnion. Most people have never heard its name, yet this agency's reports are used by virtually every bank, credit union, and financial institution in the United States to evaluate new account applications. If your name appears on its list with a negative entry, the bank will deny your application without explanation. You will be told simply that they cannot open an account for you today. You will not be told why. You will not be told what the entry says. You will not even be told which agency produced the report. You will just be turned away. And you will walk away believing that some bank made a judgment about you based on your credit score, when in reality it was a shadow report from an agency you have never heard of, containing information you have never seen that may or may not be accurate, that a federal law gives you the right to see, dispute, and correct for free. The agency is called ChexSystems. It is operated by Fidelity National Information Services, one of the largest financial technology companies in the world, with annual revenue exceeding $14 billion. ChexSystems collects data from member financial institutions about consumers who have had checking or savings accounts closed for cause, meaning accounts closed due to overdrafts that were not repaid, suspected fraud, excessive returned checks, or other negative banking activity. When you apply for a new account at a member bank, the bank queries ChexSystems. If there is a negative entry in your file, many banks will deny the application outright. And because ChexSystems reports are used by approximately 80 to 90% of all banks and credit unions in the country, a negative ChexSystems entry can effectively lock a consumer out of the conventional banking system entirely. Welcome to the Invisible Ledger. If these stories matter to you, hit subscribe and the bell. This is where we trace the money they told you not to follow. ChexSystems was established in 1971, 8 years before the first ATM became widespread and decades before online banking. It was created by a consortium of banks in the Pacific Northwest who wanted to share information about customers who had written bad checks. The original system was simple. A bank that suffered a loss from a bad check or unpaid overdraft would report the consumer's name and account information to the consortium. Other member banks could then query the system before opening a new account. The logic was identical to credit reporting. Share negative information to protect members from known bad actors. The problem is the same problem that plagued the credit reporting industry before the Fair Credit Reporting Act. No transparency, no verification, no consumer right to review or dispute. By the time ChexSystems became a nationwide service through the 1980s and 1990s, it was operating with minimal regulatory oversight and no requirement to notify consumers when they were reported or to provide them access to their own files. Banks reported negative entries that were sometimes inaccurate, sometimes the result of bank error, sometimes the result of identity theft, and sometimes unfairly punitive entries for minor overdrafts that the consumer had tried but failed to resolve. The consumer had no recourse. The Fair Credit Reporting Act changed this. The FCRA, as we covered in video 11 of this channel, applies not only to the 3 major credit bureaus, but to any consumer reporting agency, a term defined broadly in 15 U.S.C. section 16(a)(af) as any person who, for monetary fees, dues, or on a cooperative nonprofit basis, regularly engages in the practice of assembling or evaluating consumer credit information for the purpose of furnishing consumer reports to third parties. ChexSystems fits this definition exactly. It is a consumer reporting agency under the FCRA, and that means it is subject to all the same obligations that apply to Equifax, Experian, and TransUnion. Under the FCRA, ChexSystems must provide you with a free copy of your consumer file upon request once every 12 months, just like the 3 major credit bureaus. It must investigate disputes you submit and correct or delete information that cannot be verified within 30 days. It must delete most negative information after 5 years from the date of the first delinquency, just as negative information is removed from traditional credit reports after 7 years. And it must notify you of the file's contents in a form that is clear enough for you to understand and act on. Before I go further, this video is just the surface. Inside the Invisible Ledger Vault, you will find the ChexSystems dispute letter template with full FCRA citations, the list of second-chance banking institutions that do not use ChexSystems, the banking alternative guide for consumers currently locked out of the system, and the regulatory complaint filing guide for ChexSystems violations. The link is in the description. But stay right here. The consumer impact of ChexSystems is profound and disproportionate. According to the FDIC's 2021 National Survey of Unbanked and Underbanked Households, approximately 4.5% of American households were completely unbanked, meaning no member of the household had a bank account. An additional 14.1% were underbanked, meaning they had a bank account but also relied on alternative financial services. The survey found that the most commonly cited reasons for being unbanked included not having enough money to meet minimum balance requirements and not trusting banks. But a significant portion of unbanked consumers are in that situation because of ChexSystems entries that make conventional banking inaccessible. Without a bank account, the financial costs are significant. According to the National Consumer Law Center, unbanked consumers spend an estimated 4 to 5% of their income on alternative financial services, including check cashing fees, money order fees, and payday loan interest. On an annual income of $30,000, that is between $1,200 and $1,500 per year, spent on accessing basic financial services that banked consumers receive for free. ChexSystems, operating in the shadows without public awareness, is a structural driver of financial exclusion for millions of Americans who may not even know why they were denied a bank account. If you have made it this far, you already know more about ChexSystems than the vast majority of the estimated 34 million Americans who are currently unbanked or underbanked. Subscribe and share this video. Now let me give you the exact steps. Step 1. Request your ChexSystems consumer file for free. You can do this online at consumerdebit.com, by mail to ChexSystems at their consumer relations address in Woodbury, Minnesota, or by phone. The report will show you every negative entry in your file, including the reporting institution's name, the type of negative information, the date of the report, and the amount of any claimed loss. Step 2. Review the report carefully. Identify any entry that is inaccurate, incomplete, outdated, or unverifiable. Common errors include entries that belong to someone with a similar name, entries resulting from identity theft, entries that have already been paid and settled but still show as unpaid, entries that are over 5 years old and should have been removed, and entries that resulted from bank error rather than consumer misconduct. Step 3. If you identify inaccurate or unverifiable entries, submit a written dispute to ChexSystems citing 15 U.S.C. Section 1681I. Describe the specific error, state why it is inaccurate, and request investigation and correction or deletion. Send the dispute by certified mail with return receipt requested. Step 4. ChexSystems must acknowledge the dispute and complete its investigation within 30 days. If the reporting institution cannot verify the entry, ChexSystems must delete it. Step 5. If the entry is accurate but has been paid or settled, contact the reporting institution directly and request a goodwill deletion. Some institutions will remove a paid negative entry from ChexSystems as a courtesy, though they are not legally required to do so. Step 6. If you are currently locked out of banking due to a ChexSystems entry and need a bank account immediately, look for second chance checking accounts. These accounts, offered by institutions including Wells Fargo, TD Bank, Bank of America, and many credit unions and online banks, do not require a clean ChexSystems report for approval. Chime, Current, and many neobanks also do not use ChexSystems. I need to be honest with you. The ChexSystems dispute process has real limitations. First, if the negative entry is accurate and the reporting institution can verify it, ChexSystems is not required to delete it, even if it is causing you hardship. Accurate negative information can remain for 5 years. Second, disputing an accurate entry on the basis that it is unverifiable, hoping the institution will not respond in time, is not guaranteed to succeed. Institutions often have documentation readily available. Third, some entries are placed by the bank itself rather than by a collection agency, meaning the original bank and ChexSystems are the same entity on the issue, and the dispute may be resolved quickly in the bank's favor. Fourth, even if you clear your ChexSystems file, some banks run additional proprietary risk assessments that are separate from ChexSystems and may still deny your application. Fifth, the goodwill deletion process is entirely at the institution's discretion. There is no legal obligation to remove an accurate paid entry, and many institutions decline to do so as a matter of policy. Your grandparents kept their savings in coffee cans, in mattresses, and the walls of farmhouses. Not because they were paranoid, but because the banking system was not always accessible, trustworthy, or interested in their accounts. The community savings and loan was their bank, and the banker lived on the same street. Then banking consolidated, digitized, and industrialized. The relationship disappeared. In its place came a system of reports and scores and files maintained by agencies most people have never heard of, evaluated by algorithms that have never heard your explanation. There was not a more personal system. There was just a smaller one, where exclusion had to happen face-to-face, and therefore happened less often. Subscribe and share this video. Every share names an agency that millions of people have never heard of, but that may be the reason they cannot open a bank account. The next vault opens soon, and what is inside will reveal something about the safe deposit box at your bank that the banker is not required to disclose, and that most customers never discover until it is too late.